Welcome to the Do Life and a Body You Love podcast. I'm Nikki O'Day, and we are going to talk about any and every topic that will get you showing up bigger and bolder in your life. Weight loss, relationships, mindset, it's all on the table. It may not come out real PC, but if you're sick of motivational rah-rah talks that don't lead to any real change in your life, then you're in the right place. Let's jump into today's episode. What's up, my lovely ladies? I hope that you are having an amazing week. And this week on our episode, I want to give you 3 things that you can implement that will totally change your life. And I know that that sounds dramatic, and I really hate it when people use titles like that because I feel like it's just clickbait or people are overpromising. But here's the deal. These 3 steps, if you implement these, you literally will change your life. And they sound super basic. And so you're not going to want to do them because we think to promote change, like we need a super complex way to go about it, right? Complex problems must have complex solutions is kind of what we think. And that's actually the opposite of true. Sometimes the best way to get through something has a very simple concept. Now, that doesn't mean that doing the work is easy, though. We can have really simple steps to take, but they're difficult to implement for lots of reasons. So while these ideas aren't going to be earth-shattering to you, I'm sure, if you put these into place and you do the hard work, you can apply this to your health, you can apply this to your finances, you can apply this to your relationships, literally anything. And this is part of how I coach with my clients, by the way. And you can take coaching principles and you can apply them to any area. Right. And so let me dive into these. I did talk a little bit about these on social media last week. And so if you saw that and you're like, this sounds familiar, we're going to dig a little bit deeper. Plus, I'm giving you an additional step. So you still want to stay tuned in. Okay. So number 1 is getting crystal clear on what it is that you want and why you want it. And you guys have heard me talk about this before, and not to beat a dead horse, but I'm going to beat the dead horse because sometimes we got to hear things over and over before we actually go and do it. Right. And here's the deal. We think we know what we want and we don't. How can that be? How can it be true that we have no idea what we really even want? Well, there's a few reasons. So having worked with a ton of women going through a health journey, I can tell you that women don't always know what they want. And it's because we're busy. Like we're so, and I think this is probably true for men too, but I don't know. I don't work with dudes, but like, we're all just like going through the motions of life, right? We have these chaotic schedules and everybody else needs something from us. And we're just like trying to survive, it feels like. And then when we do have a free moment of time, we don't sit alone with our thoughts. We try to like disengage from our busy schedule and into something that we feel like it's relaxing for our mind, such as watching YouTube videos or hopping on to Netflix or whatever the case may be. And I'm not knocking those. Like I watch probably at least 2 vampire shows every night. It's happening. So I watch television. Okay. But what I'm saying is we're never even alone with our thoughts. And when we're thinking about what we need to do the next day, we're basically just running through a to-do list of all of our responsibilities. Never are we taking the time to step back and go, what do I really want? Am I happy? Am I content? We don't even know how we feel half the time, other than like if we get triggered about something, but just setting intention and like looking at our life through an outside perspective for a second and taking a step back and being like, do I like the trajectory that my life is on? And because we don't naturally do that, which by the way, there's nothing wrong with you. That's how the human brain works. The human brain is designed to just keep you alive, right? And so when it comes to like intentional living, purposeful living, it's something we actually have to like take the time to do. It's not our default setting. It's not anybody's default setting. So don't feel like there's something about you that's off. That's not the case at all. In fact, you're totally normal. But if we want to really move our life forward, we have to even know what direction we want that to go in, right? Some of the things that we think that we want were things told to us when we were younger. Like some of us are in careers right now that as our 40-year-old, 50-year-old selves, we would have never chosen, but that path was set for us in our childhood, right? That's a drastic example, but this can be true of lots of different things. And so if you're super busy, you might not know what you want. Sometimes we don't know what we want because it's painful to think about it. So that's another thing. If you are so far removed from where you wanted to be at this point in your life, it's easier to just shut it down and not think about it, right? Because what's going to happen when we think about what we want and we see how far away we are from it? That's painful. But there is growth in that pain. I don't want you guys to sit and do this to be like, make yourself all depressed, right? But if you want to produce change in your life, you have to know what is the target? What am I shooting for? And this is how we can let things get so out of hand in our life. And once we like snap out of it and we recognize it, we go, how did I get here? Have you ever had this experience? I know that I have, where like either with my weight or relationships or like whatever, once you finally take the veil off of your eyes and you really look at where you're at with things, you go, when did this happen? It's like the 20 pounds just sneaks on. Now, obviously that's not true. It takes time to gain weight, but we're so busy that we just don't notice it until all of a sudden we like literally can't even squeeze into the clothing that we own in our closet. And then we think about it for a minute, but then we get really busy again. So we just go buy the bigger size pants because we need to just get through the grind of our life and eye off the prize. How did we get here? And it's very easy for us to judge people that we think have let things get too far. We've all done it. We shouldn't be judgy, but I know you've done it and I've done it too, where you look at somebody else's situation and you go, how did it get that bad? How did this person get homeless? Like what, how does that happen? And it's like, you know what, that's an extreme for example, but it happens. Like things can get out of control in our lives before we even know what's going on. How many people end up with marriages where they don't even really know anything about the person that they're married to, and they don't even realize it until like the kids graduate high school. That's like a classic example because we're so busy and we're just going through the grind. We're just in it to survive. And then when we have the time to look, we're like, oh, do I even like you? Like what's going on here? And so it happens to all of us. I don't want you to feel bad or feel shame around that. Every single person listening to this podcast has let something in their life get a little further out of control than they would like it to be, right? And it's just human nature. We're all super busy people. So step number one, take a time out. This doesn't even take that long. Sit and think, what do you want? What do you want for your health? What do you want for your finances? What do you want as a career? What do you want out of your relationships? Be it with your significant other or your kids or your friends or like whomever. What do you want for your walk with the Lord? Like, are you giving God any of your time if you're a faith-based person? What are the things that are important to you? And do a little self-evaluation. How am I doing on these? Now, here's the deal. You're not going to be crushing it at everything. That's impossible. So don't have like these crazy expectations for yourself where you're never going to reach happiness because you can never climb to the very top of the mountain, right? Like there's different seasons of life where you can crush it in different areas and you can be putting enough effort into each area where things don't get like the wheels aren't totally falling off, but maybe you're really only thriving in one or two areas, and that's okay. What needs to be your priority? Where do you want to see improvement? Which area, if we're falling apart in multiple areas, because there's been times in my life where it feels like I'm falling apart in every one of these areas, right? And so if that's the case, it's like, well, which one would have the biggest impact in the other areas if you buttoned this up? What do you want? Why is that so important to you? Knowing why. This is the painful part because this is the part that really causes us to examine things and go, how is this affecting me that I'm not where I want to be? Right? And that doesn't feel good. But knowing why you want it is going to help you stay the course because change is never easy. I don't care what topic we dive into. Change is never easy. Humans do not like change. Humans don't even like their humans in their circle to change, right? Like we all hate it. And so getting real with why it is so important to you is going to keep you staying the course. And then the second thing that you have to do, the second step is to evaluate your thoughts and stories around that topic. Because our thoughts and our stories are what actually keep us stuck. This is a huge piece of what I do when I'm coaching clients. And that seems odd because you're like, Don't you just like put people on a diet? That's not what weight loss coaching in its truest form entails. It's changing the way that we think about the world, the way that we think about ourselves, the way that we behave, all of these things. And so we have to start with looking at what we think to be true about a specific topic. So jot down what you want. Jot down what you want and why you want it, and then go, what do I actually think about this? So I'm going to use weight loss as a for instance again, of course. So let's say that you want to lose 20 pounds and you know why you want to lose it. You want to lose it because you don't have confidence anymore in your clothes. You don't like it when your husband touches you because you don't like the way that you feel, whatever the thing is, right? That you get down to the bottom of it. And so now we know what we want and why we want it. But what do we believe about it? Do we believe that it's possible for us to lose the weight? Or do we think because we've tried and failed so many times that it's not possible? Like that's a for instance, right? And then you have to actually work through these things, which is, we'll get into that in just a second, but let's do a few more examples of this. Do you think that the weight loss can't happen for you because you don't like healthy food, or because you don't like to work out, or because genetically you have a slower metabolism? Like, is there something there where you think it's not possible for you? Because if we think things aren't possible, we'll self-sabotage all the time. I see it constantly. Somebody can get to the 18-pound mark, so they clearly can lose the weight, right? And then boom, something happens, right? Well, that something is our subconscious keeping us from stepping into something that we don't believe we can do. Here's another, for instance, maybe the belief isn't the problem, but the worthiness. So a lot of times when I'm working with people, this doesn't come out right away, but throughout the course of 12 weeks of working together, it'll come out that like we have shame or guilt about something from our past, or we don't feel worthy. And so that keeps us stuck. We don't feel like we're valuable enough to put the time or the resources or the finances in to getting the things that we want. There's so much that can be going on there. And so taking a look at what these stories are, maybe it's not something that deep. Maybe it's like, I really want to lose weight, but I don't have time. Then we look at it and we go, what's true about this? Is it true that I don't have time? Well, one way that you can find out if you have any extra time, this is the worst exercise on the planet, by the way. And if any of you do it, I totally want to hear how it goes, but don't hate me. I did this before that a coach made me do, and it was so terrible. I don't remember if I did it for 2 or 3 days, but it was literally writing down everything that you do in like hour blocks. So like there was this whole thing I had to print off and fill it out, whatever, but it makes it crystal clear what you do and don't have time for. Now, I'm not saying that any of you need to do that. I feel like that's a little bit drastic. We can probably just sit and be real with ourselves and think, what did I do yesterday and the day before and the day before that? So, and then we have to evaluate how much time we even need. So there's 2 parts to this. If somebody tells me they don't have time to go achieve their goals, it's A, how much time does it really take to go achieve your goal? Because normally we're thinking things take longer than what they actually do, or that they're more time consuming in the daily grind than what they actually are. So this is where having a plan that fits your life comes into play, right? Like maybe you don't have 2 hours to commit to losing weight every day. Good. I don't either. And this is what I do full time. Are you kidding me? Who does? So, I mean, maybe if you're like an Instagram model and this is all you do, good for you, boo, but that ain't my life, right? And it's probably not any of your lives that are listening to this either. So it's getting a plan where it's not super time consuming. Realistically, how much time do you need to prepare a healthy meal? Especially if you already cook. Like if you're cooking dinners for your family every night already, it's 0 more time consuming. That's how many more minutes it takes you. 0. So time isn't even a consideration in there, right? But okay, how long is it going to take you? And then where do you actually have time? So when people tell me that they don't have the time or the money for something, what my brain hears is it's not a priority, because there are things for most people, not everybody, but for most people, there are times throughout the day where we could pull from something that we don't need to be doing and donate that time to getting us to a goal. And the only thing that we're lacking is focus. right? We naturally get pulled into social media, podcasts. I'm not knocking it, talking to y'all on a podcast or YouTube, wherever you're watching this. But there's usually some place that we can cut the fat, so to speak, and buy ourselves a little bit of time. Now, you will have some wild seasons in life, maybe, where you have young kids in the house and you're working a full-time job and you're in college and one of your parents is aging and needs help. And it's like, okay, you might not actually have a minute to spare, but the season of life isn't all of life, right? It's something momentary that is going to pass. For the most part, everybody has a busy schedule. I don't know anybody who doesn't have a busy schedule other than my clients who are retired. And guess what? They struggle more with time management than my clients who are actually working still, because sometimes an abundance of time is also a way to self-sabotage because there's no deadlines, right? So if time is what's been keeping you stuck, I would challenge you to do a thorough analysis of how much spare time you actually have or where you could reprioritize your time. Let's do money. A lot of people are like, well, I want to get healthy, but I don't have any money. Or I want to go back to college, but I don't have any money, or whatever the thing is that you want to do. And it's like, well, do you not have any money? Sometimes that's true. Sometimes that's true. Like if you're like paycheck to paycheck and bills aren't getting paid and this and that and the other, then you don't have financial resources to contribute to something right now. But there are things that you can do for free to get you to your goal. And there's actually some ways that you can lose weight that can save you money. Eating healthy doesn't have to be more expensive. So there's that. So it's looking at the story. Is the story that I'm telling myself even a true story? Is this true? What's another way I can look at this? So this is how you can start to, I'm giving you guys examples, but you need to start training your brain to think this way, right? So you look at it and you're like, is the story true? And if you're not sure, you go, well, what's another way that I could look at this? What's another possible truth in this situation? And is it, well, if I cut back on this, and this, I could afford the gym membership, right? So again, it's about the priorities. Where are we spending our money? A lot of times when we don't want to invest money in something like a gym, a coach, something along those lines to get us to our goal, it's not actually about the money at all. It's that we don't trust ourselves to get the results, right? And so what we're really experiencing is a fear of failure. We're afraid to invest the money when we don't trust ourselves to show up and do the work. Okay, now that's something that we can deal with, right? But you have to get real with what the actual problem is and what the story is. Then you move on to step 3, which is solving the real problem. Oftentimes, we spin our wheels because we're not addressing what the root problem is. So again, let's use weight loss. You want to lose weight, and so you think that you need to eat less food. I'm going to give you examples of how that backfires. Maybe your metabolism isn't working very well because you're malnourished. Yes, you can be overfed and malnourished. I was for years. That was my baseline state. Tons and tons of calories with no nutritional value, right? So if that's where you're at, you've been eating the standard American diet for a really long time. No judgment, boo. I was the pizza roll queen. I still love me a good pizza roll. Okay. But if most of the food that's coming into your body is devoid of nutrients, and then you think that you're going to lose weight by calorie cutting or eating less or some sort of fasting or whatever way you go about eating less food, low carb, whatever, here's what's going to happen. You're going to lose weight while you're following that, but you're putting your body further in the hole. So then when you come off of whatever that diet is, you're going to rebound weight gain faster than you normally do. And each time you're going to rebound weight gain faster and faster. And so when we're stuck in that yo-yo dieting cycle, we start to think that our body's broken, our metabolism is broken, we don't have enough willpower. That's a common thing that we say. And so we go chasing all of these other avenues when in fact, what the issue is that your body needs nutrition, and it needs the right nutrition for you, for your activity level, for your dieting history, for where you're at with your hormones, all of those things, right? It gets to be, nutrition should be very, very, very personalized. This is why diets don't work. Okay. So this is why you need a custom plan, because you need to be getting to the root of the issue. So for some people, dropping carbohydrates is fantastic. So think people who have any form of insulin resistance, right? So this is like your pre or actually at type 2 diabetes levels, people with PCOS. These are for instances where we don't necessarily process carbohydrates very well. And even at different times in your menstrual cycle, you may not process carbohydrates as well. So, and that's true for me. I wear a continuous glucose monitor so I can see these things because I'm a nerd and I like to do weird things, right? And I'm not suggesting that to anybody. That's next level psycho. But all of that to say that in one situation, pulling carbohydrates out or minimizing them might be a smart play, but it may fail miserably for somebody who has very high stress levels, works out a lot, is in certain phases of menopause. Like there's all these for instances where if you start taking carbohydrates away or intermittent fasting, when that's your situation, you're actually going to make things 1 million times worse. And so you have to get to the root of what is your actual problem, not just trying to take some Band-Aid fix and slapping that on there, right? You got to get down to the heart of the real issue. If the real issue is that you have a lack of belief in yourself, no diet is going to get you there. No financial planning strategy is going to get you financial stability. No marriage book is going to fix your relationship, right? You got to work on the belief. You got to work on the belief. And so this is why like the mindset stuff is so important for any journey that you're going on. Literally anything. If there's anything in your life that you want to fix and you're not going to address mindset, I promise you're not going to get there. Like everything that we want in this world has to do with the way that our thoughts work. And maybe there's an example. Like if you guys can think of something where your thought patterns don't really affect the outcome, shoot me a message and let me know, and I will stand corrected. But I honestly can't think of one. Let's tie a couple of things together with step 2 and step 3. Okay. So maybe you think that weight loss is not possible for you. And your evidence for this. So what's the story you're telling yourself? The story you're telling yourself is that it's not possible. But why do you think that? That's another good question that you can ask yourself. Why do I think this? What evidence do I have to support this idea? And maybe the evidence is that you've been trying for decades to lose weight and it keeps not happening. And in fact, the scale, it seems like the more you try, the more the scale goes up, right? Chronic dieter, by the way, the trajectory of a lifelong dieter is that they gain weight over time, not lose it and keep it off, just so we're clear. But so this is your evidence. I've failed a million times. I've tried every single program out there and I've never been able to keep the weight off. So it's not possible for me. Trust me when I tell you, I have so many clients in their 60s and even some in their 70s who come to me and they're like, okay, I feel like I'm a little late in the game here, but I really like, I got to do something. I don't feel good. And first of all, you're not late in the game, boo. You're never too late to take back your health, right? But here they come with all of this baggage of past failures. Now, the story is, I can't lose weight. What's actually true in most cases, and almost every case actually, is that the methods that they were using didn't work. So one possibility, if you haven't achieved something, is that it's not possible for you. The other possible scenario is that your method sucked, right? Like if you're not following a good plan that's addressing the real problem, step number 3, then you're not going to get there. Does it mean that you can't do it? No, it means that your method sucked. Right? And what are most of our methods when it comes to losing weight? Diets that don't work. We have plenty of data to tell us that diets don't actually work. So are you a failure or are diets a failure? I would say diets are. And how do I know that? Because I've coached so many women in their 60s and 70s. So women who've been trying to lose weight for like 30 years, who've done every single program out there. You name it, my clients have done them. Yet they come into this coaching academy and they all lose weight and they keep it off and they don't feel strict and they like how they're eating and it's 100% different. So have those women chose to believe that they weren't capable, they would still be stuck. But they chose to reframe their thought process and say, you know what? Just because it hasn't worked for me yet doesn't mean it's not possible. I'm going to go find the solution to the real problem. The solution has to match the actual problem. Does this make sense? Is this pulling together for you guys? So what do you want? What area of your life do you want to see improvement? What specifically do you want to improve? What do you believe to be true about the situation? And then what is the real problem that's been keeping you stuck? Is it a method? Is it in your mind? What's true and what's false about this? And then get yourself into action. You got to take massive action, but it's got to be on the right things. And if you are stuck with your health and you need to know what the actual problem is, reach out to me. That is what coaching is for. It's getting to the root of your problem and giving you solutions and working together to figure out what those are. I don't have like a magic wand where I can just go, oh, this is what your problems are. But we can figure it out together. Only because I have so much experience doing this with people. I can see the patterns. I know some mindset tricks to get you moving, things like that. If it's not weight loss, maybe it's finances. I don't do nothing with finances. I am not your one, but I bet you there's an awesome coach out there for that. Or somebody who's walked the path that you want to walk that you can go to for help. But start by brainstorming all of this out and getting crystal clear on the things that you want. And then if you need help getting over those stories or getting to the root of the problem, reach out. But I promise you, if you guys go take these 3 steps and apply them, it's going to transform everything about your life, everything about it. And I love this topic so much. So let me know, how is this one sitting with you guys? Is this like, you guys got any bells going off here? Like, ooh, yep, I've totally, stopped myself because of a lack of belief. Or yes, I totally just believed those things that I was taught in childhood about myself that aren't even true. Like, do you really not have any self-control or discipline? Well, you might think that if you have a hard time losing weight, but if you can look around the rest of your life and go, I'm doing amazing things in all these other areas of life, then I would argue that your discipline and your self-control aren't the problem, right? Just because you're struggling in one area doesn't mean things are true about you. So really dig deep with this stuff, you guys, and it'll change your whole entire life. So reach out to me. Let me know how this one sits with you. Let me know if you need help with anything, and I'll catch you chicks next week. Thanks for tuning in. It is my mission to give women back the confidence that they need to show up bigger in their lives. Right now, the world more than ever needs women who are on fire and living their purpose. If you want to join me in this mission, there's a few things you can do. 1, you can share this podcast with the women in your circle. 2, you can join me in my Facebook group, Simplified Fat Loss, or you can subscribe to my newsletter at nikkioday.com.